You're listening to The Fat Boy Show on RX Radio, and ooh, is it a beautiful day or what? But not so if you are an opposition supporter. I'm sure you're still reeling from the pain of the spicy tweets that got sent your way, courtesy of our Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, the newly appointed Honorable Norbert Mao. He went to Twitter yesterday and he tweeted the following. And it doesn't require too much thinking to guess who he was targeting or referring to in this tweet. He tweeted this out yesterday morning. He said, quote, "You can't fix stupid, but you can put a red beret on it."
That was huge. That stuck.
That's a home run. Knockout punch.
A knockout punch. But is it really a knockout? Because I saw it and I was like, this guy is desperate for a response. Now we have to wait and see if we'll get one.
You think he's baiting? Because who else could he be referring to?
Of course, you know who he's referring to. Of course, right? Bobi Wine, and of course the people that are close to him, like Joel Senyonyi, like what is the leader of opposition's name? Matthias Mpuga. Yes.
My goodness. And why would he be this hostile towards them, though? Because weren't they in the same camp? I mean, he was formerly opposition too.
This is what I keep telling you, Fat Boy, regarding people that what do you say lately? You know, you can have a conversation. You can, make a deal with government. This is what you get when people make a deal with the government.
People lose their principles.
Definitely. I mean, I've always respected Norbert Mao. At some point, I honestly saw him as the future president of this country. But then when brokenness comes in and then you're given a deal too good to turn down, what do? You turn against you people.
You can't fix stupid, but you can put a red beret on it. This is
that was good though. That was deep.
It's funny, but it seems unbecoming of a minister of justice.
It's unbecoming.
There are better ways of criticizing your detractor.
No, I get that, but of course, let's not forget that Mao has actually always been petty. As in, petty is his third name.
He said similar things about Museveni over the years.
And
right?
He's very creative with the language. He's a smart man. He knows how to write. He knows how to reason. So when he starts giving you a piece of his mind, trust me.
And of course, Bobi Wine is, I don't know that he can respond to this in a way that would be equally entertaining.
He would go into his feelings.
He would just be like,
fellow Ugandans.
Yes, he sold you sold your soul to the devil. You would probably say stuff like that.
There is meat to that bone, though, as in selling the soul to the devil.
Yeah, but that's not fun. I mean, we've heard that a million times.
It is expected.
Okay, well, here's another reason why supporters of Bobi Wine and members of the NUP party would also not be feeling very happy today. Yesterday, in a shocking turn of events, do you remember that guy, Eric Mwesigwa, who became very famous after pictures of him began to circulate showing him with very severe burn wounds on his chest?
Yes.
That looked as though they were inflicted by a hot iron.
Yes.
Okay? Hot flat iron, and it looks like someone tortured him and just on his chest.
Those were bad.
And obviously there was a huge outcry. People were like, this should not be happening in our country. And of course, everyone on the opposition side pounced on this as yet another instance of the government overreach, government oppression, and totalitarianism. So what exactly has happened now? Well, the same Eric Mwesigwa has come out to say that he was allegedly lured by the NUP leadership, the Bobi Wines and so forth, to have those wounds inflicted on his body after they promised to give him 50 million shillings and for them to use him to put the government in a bad light. He claims that he has since been abandoned by these people and that he has not received his payment. He made these remarks during a press conference that took place at Mbuya Army headquarters. So we're just gonna, play you a clip from what happened at that press conference. So take a listen to this.
So like wakusomera diwe gwe munyini omuzanyo oguzango okimanyi bagenda kukola ki bagenda kujja bakupicking ne mukupikinga abantu bakupicking tosobola batega tosamanya nti obaye gundi obaye gundi tosobola bategera bandi bambadde massive net obukokolo of course batekawo embyajo yebuuza abantu so batega naye oledi gobwera okimanyi kiba kiri programming gwe okimanyi nti kintu ekiddako naye otomanyi bagenda kupinga be baani
ingiza lyo kugambe wakola naye ddi amaze ebbanga kimu NUP era akola nga aniye
Kingzali bodyguard wa Kibanda era akuuma Kibanda
Nedado kyembuuza wano woba ogenda mu ddiiri olina wosayininga nti wemala mu mpaataano gange oba jasirira bigambo bugambo
Okay, so Olive, help us who don't understand Uganda.
So he says that when they read you the deal, you're expecting that they're going to come for you. You don't know who exactly is going to come for you, but you know that on such and such a date, someone is going to come for you. They're going to pretend to be abducting you. And then when that is done, you're going to get your money. So they ask him, you were promised 50 million shillings. Who did you sign an agreement to that effect? And he says, no, I didn't. And then they ask him, the person who brought the deal to you, how long has he been in NUP? And he says that the person is a bodyguard to Chibanda meaning Bobi Wine.
But okay, so here's one problem though. As spicy as this revelation is, I think the government did themselves no favors by being the ones who hosted the press conference.
Thank you very much.
Being the ones that paraded him in front of the press to say, okay, go ahead and tell them exactly what happened. Because most people would simply dismiss it as saying, oh, he was either placed under duress to make that confession, or that maybe he was bribed.
Oh, yes, that he was. The 50 million he's talking about, probably it's the money that he could have been offered to turn on NUP. Because here's the thing. The presser was given at Mbuya Army Barracks. And ideally, there is a process. If you want to make a statement, you go to the police first. He didn't do that. Now we see him giving a presser, yet he is the same guy who a couple of weeks ago was saying that he had been in the army coffers, cells, whatever you want to call them, and that he
Coolers.
coolers, and that he was tortured by the army. And now he is the same guy that comes out and says, I was given a deal by NUP, to speak bad things about the government, and then they pay me. So, honestly speaking, Fatboy, even if you're apolitical, when you see this guy and see what has been in the papers, where does your mind go to?
So it's like he can't keep his story straight.
It's not straight.
But at the same time, this is going to do huge damage when in future anyone else ever claims to have been tortured by the government. They're just going to say, well, why should we believe him?
But do you think it's going to do damage? Honestly speaking, from the moment I saw this presser, the moment I saw these clips and allegations, my mind was like, really? I don't believe that. And there is an MP called Honorable Nyeko, and he shared a screenshot of messages that were sent to him by a one Kwagala Perina, who claimed to be a wife to Eric Mwesigwa, where she was telling him that he was kidnapped on 31st January. And the good thing is that they found him, but he is in bad condition. He was burnt in his chest. And she was telling the MP that we are in hospital, but we don't have money for treatment. We need your help.
It doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up.
All right. So this is just throwing a spanner in the works, of course. So people in NUP are having a bad day. First, Norbert Mao is throwing serious shade.
I don't take Mao seriously
and now
anymore.
Eric Mwesigwa, who really was kind of the poster child, at least for now, of government brutality towards political dissidents, now coming out and saying that instead he, had been paid, or at least had been promised a payment. Of course, if he had actual receipts to verify any of these claims, that would help his case and help the government's case.
But everything is by word of mouth, and whoever believed in word of mouth?
Okay, and if he is that easy to, let's assume that he's sold out. Let's say they pulled him aside and said, hey, here's some money. Come out and say they promised you payment to lie that the government tortured you. Well, I don't know, man. Okay, so here's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously going to be invited to lots of talk shows to explain himself, I would imagine.
Yeah, true that.
So maybe we should reach out to him too and see if we can get him.
Oh, but you have a point. Yeah, we could have a conversation with him. But I would take everything he says, and I'm not trying to be partial, but I would take everything he says with a grain of salt, because one thing I've learned about Uganda's politics is that pretty much every politician is up for sale.
Oh, yeah.
It depends on how much.
You can say that again.
It depends on how much you put on the table. And this is the same thing that was said about NUP's members of parliament when we came out of the elections. Most of them are very young. Most of them come from humble backgrounds. Most of them are holding huge amounts of money for the very first time. So these people are very easy to buy off. And don't be surprised that when in 2026, majority of them come back as NRM candidates. Or if they say in NUP and then stories come out that they're the very people that are taking information from NUP to the ruling party.
Wow. So you just can't win, can you?
No, you can't. But of course, it shows how far our government has to go. And this is not a mere hearsay. We've seen stories of members of parliament being called to the State House, being given envelopes of, let's say, 40, 25 million shillings to vote on something or to agree with something. So what has happened is that members of parliament from the opposition, most of the times, they're the broke ones. Let's face it. They don't have enough. As in, the government has money. That's the advantage of being part of the government.
This is true.
So most times they have issues. Let me tell you, Fatboy, when I worked in the bank, it may be surprising to our listeners to learn that most of these members of parliament are actually broke. And you may be wondering, why? How can they be broke? All this money they are paid. Some of them come from humble backgrounds. So they incur a lot of debt during campaigns. When you get out of the campaigns and you have won, now you go to the banks to get money. And they are normally rated high risk because they are politicians. They are a flight risk. So they get all these loans in the banks, and then they will spend the first term paying back the loans. And then they will have to change their look. You go to a boutique, you need to get these nice suits. I mean, even the speaker's suits changed.
Yes, and of course you have to go to the fancy places.
You have to go to the fancy space.
You can't continue going to the Kafunda.
You can't do that. And then, of course, if it is a man, now he has access to all the women that said no.
That too.
So you have all these girls. They're expensive. Your cost of living has gone up. You cannot stay. If you stayed in a 2-bedroom house, a 1-bedroom house, now you need something palatial. You need a big car for your wife, for your kids.
And how about when they visit their constituents? Obviously, they're going to be lining up saying, hey, I lost a sister. I need, funeral money, school fees.
Let me tell you, being a politician in Uganda is hard because everyone that looks at you sees an ATM machine.
So I can understand why they're broken. Why, as you say,
they're easy to bribe.
They're very easy to bribe. Well, anyway, is that what happened to Eric Mwesigwa? You can let us know. Go to our Twitter or Facebook, or in case you're watching this afterwards on YouTube, you can just post it in the comments. What do you think is the real deal with Eric Mwesigwa? Keep listening to The Fatboy Show on RX Radio.